My name is Greg Chambers, and the reason you're here today is because you're looking for some steps on how to make better landing pages. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we do internally at US Farm Data as we are building our own web landing pages, but also the ones that we do for clients too. Welcome. If you have never been on one of these before, the Zoom chat, there's a chat section where you can chat that's monitored by Nui, and she helps me keep track of that. And then there's also a Q&A section where you can ask questions, and it loads up, and I run through those as time goes by. But let's go ahead and jump into this, and we'll cover today's agenda. The first thing we'll start with is we always start with defining terms and then news of note. Then we'll jump into the 6 simple steps, my alliteration around landing pages. And we'll wrap it up with questions, and then I'll give you a preview of what it is that we're going to send you when we send you the recording. So before we start, if there's anything you're hoping I cover today about landing pages or anything else, I'm feeling good this morning. So you can put it in the chat, and I will try to either fit it in, or I'll roll through the 6 simple steps and then move to the next thing. The news of note, this was circulated by, actually by an attorney to us, and then we've been talking about it internally, but it's this idea that if GDPR, the privacy regulations that they released in Europe, what would happen if California puts through their own version of GDPR, and then what would happen if all the other states followed suit and everybody was doing their own thing? What a nightmare. What kind of nightmare would it be if you had to manage your own data? And what would it do to companies like Facebook, Google, that we rely on to basically aggregate lists for us that we can market to? And internally, what we ended up talking about, and the question, I guess, that the reason I bring it up is because it does come back to this: how is your permission-based list marketing game? How do you get permission to market to people, even though businesses are a little different than consumers? With farmers and ranchers, as you know, they're a hybrid, right? They're individuals that are sometimes covered under the consumer laws, but then they operate as businesses. And so how is your permission-based list marketing game is really the question. Landing pages, believe it or not, are part of that, because as you are trying to attract traffic, as you are trying to work through and find new leads, your ability to do it and not rely on the lists that are being compiled by these third parties, well, including us, but ours is a little bit different in that we actually give you you purchase access to the list, and you get to hold it in-house and make it internal. How is that whole thing going? So with that in mind, that's the frame behind these 6 simple steps. And they are: choose, but choose wisely. We'll talk about 3 parts of a landing page. We'll talk about speed and landing pages. We'll talk about content a little bit, and what to do with the landing pages. And the age-old question, should we do this? Greg, this is always how the question is posed to me. Greg, should we do this? Should we not do this? And then our hint, it's always a good idea to spy on the smart rich kid. And we'll talk about how to do that as we wrap it up. This one should take 30 minutes at the most. Step 1, choose, but choose wisely. If you remember that from Indiana Jones, I think in the Last Crusade, and that was what the night when they found the Temple of the Holy Grail, right? That was, they had to choose which one the Grail was. Choose, but choose wisely. When you are working on your landing pages, we view them in 2 separate buckets, which is basically a search optimized landing page. So if a landing page is defined as where you are sending traffic, and then when that traffic gets that, you're trying to have it attract a certain type of traffic, and then have that traffic do something while it's on there. Either it's inform themselves, or maybe it's take some other action. There's search optimized, which is all for organic, trying to attract that type of traffic. On the other end is paid ad optimized landing pages, right? So you're buying an ad somewhere, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and then you're sending them to a page. And the optimization process for each one of those is a little bit different. Where we work is in this hybrid area, right? So if a search optimized page is, like Instapage is a tool that we use for search optimized pages. They've got a lot of content, and if you can just by peeking at that page, a few things stick out. One is that there's not a lot of navigation, right? But if you scrolled through it, it's 2,500 words long. So I had looked up something about how to SEO friendly, search optimized friendly landing pages, and this post is the one that came up. And there's a little bit of a call to action at the bottom, which is get our book. But for the most part, it's heavy content. On the other end, Instapage again too, they also had an ad under that same search that I did. And in that ad, this is really all the page did. It just had a start a free trial or request a demo, right? So either choice is a good choice for them. And it's a short page, right? There's less than 300 words. It's got a lot more buttons, a lot less explanations. And the call to action is right up front. The one on the left, the call to action, you got to dig for it. I mean, they did put it up in that header, but you got to scroll all the way to the end before they're like, hey, if you liked all this, you'll really like the book. Where we work, just so you know, is internally and with our clients is a lot of times like the easiest one to build is a paid ad optimized. The hardest part about that is really coming up with the call to action. The harder one to build is a search optimized page, or maybe that's easy, just as easy to build. The challenge is you're guessing at what the terms are that you're going to be able to attract and what terms might actually convert. So what we do is we end up having to guess right in the middle, right? With a lot of the traffic that we do business to business, and even in the ag marketing world, there's not enough traffic where we can really get good insights into what the traffic is or what people are really searching for. And then you can buy so many ads. So we kind of end up splitting the difference there. So we'll do a little bit longer than 300 words, and then we might put calls to action up closer to the top and the bottom. So we'll talk about those. But the first thing is just to really, step one in our six simple steps is really to make sure you're talking about the right thing. Internally, we've struggled with this a lot, which is, what kind of landing page is this that we're building? Is it more search? Is it more paid? Or is it just, we're just going to split the difference down the middle? And I got to tell you, we end up in the middle most of the time. An example of that is I did a search for CRM for insurance. And because I was looking for a good example of another, like a paid ad optimized. So I have this on the wrong side. But this was, if you click on the ad, which is for Salesforce, right at the very top, it's sign up to watch a free demo, run and grow the world's business. And you can't really see it, but the page is only that long. It really fits on a screen. And it is, what is CRM and why do you need it for the insurance business? It's all about action. The top result on the search engine optimized, right, the organic searches, which they say, so in case you're wondering, we're being told that it's something like 15% of clicks go to paid ads. So people do recognize that there are paid ads there, but you don't get, just because you're at the top of the page, you no longer grab 100% of the clicks. And 85% go to those top 3 results. So in this case, this is the number 1 result, a free CRM for CRM. So if it's a free CRM for insurance agents, it's probably no wonder that it gets all the way up to number 1. Even I'm curious as to, well, how exactly do you guys do that? So those are examples of what the 2 different pages look like, just so you know. And as a, for instance, the SEO page, as you can see, it's a lot longer. In this, they use some great graphics and they have a bunch of bullet points. It's easy to read, but really, I think I see the word free on there. Even just peeking at it, the word free has got to be in there 4 times. So their call to action is, we're not going to charge you anything. So it's no wonder that it's moved up to the top over time, because Google's like, oh, if people are looking for CRM for insurance, they should probably try this Bitrix 24. So that's hint number 1, is make sure you're on the same page. The second one is there's consider that there are 3 parts of of landing pages, especially for SEO. So if we're trying to optimize for a page, the three pieces of the page are going to be content, which makes a lot of sense, right? If we think about the 2,500 words and we're trying to give all the information that anybody would need on this particular subject or to help them make a decision, content is very important, but then so is the coding, right? Which is how does that page also look to the search engines and the robots? And if the robots are able to find it, then it helps the content, right? If it's coded incorrectly, if it's a mess on the back end, then the search engines aren't going to know what to do with it. But then the third thing is links, right? The better your content is, the more likely it is that people are going to be linking to it. So that is another indicator. And as we're building SEO landing pages, in general, that is a 1, 2, 3 piece that we're told to do. So let me tell you how we work through this, because this is very common knowledge. Content and code, if you just did those two things, so you know the term that you're looking for, and if it's decent content and it's coded correctly, that's really great for long tail terms, which is where we do a lot of work. Long tail, if you're familiar with that concept, is as opposed to so CRM for insurance would probably not be a long tail term. That's I'm looking for CRMs for insurance, but a longer tail would be, like, how do I choose the best CRM for my insurance company in the Southwest? That's a long tail, right? Not many people are searching for that, but if you can rank for it, then it's possible that some of those terms are very good converting terms. So content and code is a good thing to have, even if it's missing some of the links. It hasn't really been discovered. But on the flip side, let's talk about what if you had great content and it was being linked. If it's not coded correctly, as we were just discussing before, there's probably a lot of missed opportunities out there. You may be getting traffic from the people that are linking to it, but the search engines are going to have a hard time putting you at the top of the search of organic search unless your code matches what it is that they want. On the other end is, like, what if you have great code? So you've tremendous coding skills. You've got a lot of links pointing to the website. You went out and bought a bunch of links, or people just like you and they link to it, but the content's actually not good. Well, all that is that's just a web page that drives traffic, but it doesn't do anything for you. The Holy Grail, right? Going back to that little choose but choose wisely, the Holy Grail is to have all three of these working together in unison. Great content, it's coded perfectly, and it's got a lot of traffic to it. We, though, internally, and one thing that we would encourage you to do is, for long tail terms, especially if you don't know they're going to convert, but you just have a sneaking feeling, you can build a lot of the pages for that, all you really need to focus on is the code, the content, and then making sure that it's coded correctly, and you'll get some things done. So this is a tool that you can use to get that done. It's the Google Search Console. If you pick up the Google Search Console, it will give you it will help you inspect your URL. It will tell you all about the coding. It will tell you a little bit about the links, in that it will tell you, it'll tell you a lot about the links, but it'll tell you a little bit about the content, because it'll give you an idea of what it is that you're actually ranking for, that top linking text. The text that's on your page, it starts to tell you what it is that it thinks that the page is. And so we use the Google Search Console a lot, and we recommend that you do too, especially as you're building out these landing pages. Okay, part of the coding piece, and if there was any trick to the coding piece, it would be that they're fast. So pay-per-click landing pages, I can't really help you and give you any hints other than I would say free. If you can use the word free, that tends to work better than anything that costs money. So there's a lot of free stuff out there. But does your page load quickly? I mentioned before that we had used Instapage. One of the things that Instapage allows us to do is it allows us to build quickly pay-per-click landing pages that are going to load fast. They've worked on that. They own that. And so we can use that, because what ends up happening is as you build your page, right? One of our internal pieces of building to quickly build a pay-per-click landing page is we use this acronym TACO, which is the title, am I doing this correctly? The term, the TACO. I got distracted. So T is for term. So what is the term that's being searched for? For pay-per-click, right? You've bought traffic on that particular term, and then you're working on the ad. How does the ad match up to that term? There can't be any disconnect there. And then the headline should match the ad and the term. The copy should answer or should equal the headline, the ad, the term, and then the offer should work all the way back. The big thing is it's got to be consistent, right? We're after, we don't want any non sequiturs in there. We don't want any that which does not follows. If you say that there's going to be a free CRM, so like those guys were doing on the earlier one with the free CRM for insurance, if you ended up signing up for that and it turned out to be not free, you'd be a little put off. If it turned out to be not for insurance, you'd probably be even more put off. So you need to be consistent all the way through. If there's any hints we can give you on copy for pay-per-click landing pages, it's focus on outcomes. So less about what it is that you do, more about what it is that they're going to get from you, right? It's that the old WIIFM for people who remember the radio. One day I was giving a speech to some college students and I used this WIIFM and the blank looks. They had no idea what I was talking about. But radio station WIIFM is everybody's favorite, right? What's in it for me? That's what we do when we focus on outcomes. A strong call to action, as we talked about, free works great. We use this at a glance rule, which is, can we quickly take a peek at the page and get a feel for what it is that is going on there, in less than a second? Or does it take a lot to figure out, right? That's usually, is the headline good? Let me just pop back to one of those. So like when we look at this, right, is the headline strong? Is the, the call to action, right? Sign up and watch free demo videos. Is that strong? Salesforce has probably done a lot of that stuff. So we can peek through that, but, and then we test, right? The test. The good news about pay-per-click traffic is that as you send it to your landing pages, you really can test. You can drive traffic pretty quickly, as opposed to all the effort it takes to rank for something organically. And then it turns out that it doesn't drive much traffic, even though you did a lot of work for it. So do all these things, but the moral of the story is, if you're not using, if your page isn't fast, it really doesn't matter. So search for the Google Page Speed Insights tool. It's a super easy tool to use, and obviously green is good. Yellow, you can at least send it to your web person and say, hey, can you work on some of this stuff, even though they may give you that same little shrug. We've just found over time, Google's working on this because Google has stopped with the redirects, but there is a little redirect pause in there when people click on an ad. And so you want your page to load up quickly. You want the headline to pull up right away. Okay, so far the first three steps were know which type of page that you're building, right? Search or pay-per-click or hybrid. We gave you some hints on search engine optimization, thinking about the three parts of what you need, and that long tail terms, the hint that's in there. Pay-per-click pages, the big hint there is we can tell you how to build them, but really in the end, it needs to be super fast and focus on the outcomes. And what we'll talk about now is what happens with, what do you do with these hybrid pages over time? So content flow, right? If we've tested a term with pay-per-click and we know that it drives some traffic and that the traffic looks to be good, then that's time for us to blog about it, right? To actually put some content out and surround that content with other content that is related to that piece, and then watch your analytics. So with those hybrid pages, the nice thing is they're kind of already doing some content work for you. You can get them into the sitemap for Google so that the search engines are crawling it. And then as you put more content around it, you can put this together. In this process, as you do this over time, a lot of the terms that worked for pay-per-click never really come up very much in organic. And they become dead posts, right? There's a lot of sites that when we start working on them, some people were very good about blogging, and they have, you know, hundreds of old posts that they put out there, and the posts are really not that bad. Our advice is to take all those old posts, figure out which ones are not generating any traffic using analytics, and then let's upcycle them. In this case, the idea, when we were searching, if you haven't bumped into this tool called Moz, they have a lot of the how do you do SEO results are generated to this page. And really what it is, it's a book when you really get into it. Not only is it chapters 1 through 10, but it really is, they did write the definitive, like nobody else has, I'm sure people have tried this, but yeah, like it says there, it's been read over 3 million times. It's a great piece of content because it's so informative. Early stage, if you're looking to do search engine optimization, their way of doing it is a great way of doing it. And in the between time, there's a little call to action. You can either download the PDF, which gives them your email. Otherwise, you can just read it for free online. So it's a great example of givers get, right? We're going to just stick it out there. But a lot of times when we look at all that old traffic or all the old blog posts that have no traffic, when we upcycle them, this is what we're doing, is we're trying to put them into a, use a writer, use a copywriter, tell your writer to go ahead and do this. They can put it together into bigger pieces, and those bigger pieces are often a little bit easier to generate traffic to. And then you can start building around there. Plus, it gets counted as something new, and new traffic. Google usually tries new things, sending traffic to your new pages to test them out anyways. And so if you've done a good job, you get rewarded for that. So that's our hint on content and what to do with old content. This question in the 6 simple steps, we get this one all the time, which is, Greg, I saw Salesforce is doing this thing with videos. They have these videos that are out there. Oh, wait, I was on Bloomingdale's and immediately I got this light box and it asked me for 10% off. Or, hey, I went to this website, Taft, and when I tried to exit off the page, it flipped out a little thing on there. So these are all different landing pages. Should I do video? Should I do, you know, light boxes? Should I do the exit call to actions? Should I make this as 10% enough? There's all these questions. This is our advice, is to do testing, is to test it, right? And I don't know what the answer is, and I wouldn't trust anybody who said that they did know what the answer is, but I would want to test it. I would want to say, this is a page that we know that's driving some traffic and is having some success, and what would happen if we gave it a different treatment? What would happen if we did put a video on there? Would that increase anything? The A/B testing does require that you have an A. The challenge with most A/B testing is we're trying to do too much, right? Not only do we not have enough information on the first piece that we do, we don't run it up against the second piece, and we're trying to test multiple things, right? Because usually it's not, hey, should I do video? But it's like, oh, I'm testing a new thing with video. Yeah, you're testing it, but you've also changed the headline, the call to action. You know, you made the page look a little bit different. You're doing this multivariate testing, and you don't know which one, if it was the video that changed it, or was it the headline that was a little bit better. Always start with A, but by all means, try all of these things. And if your A includes this particular one of these techniques, that's not a bad thing. But we're always trying to get better, and that's the answer. So the answer to it is a long way around saying, hey, if the question is, should we try it? The answer is, well, start with something and get data on it. And then let's try to improve it, but only pick one thing to test at a time. It can take a while, especially B2B, especially ag marketing, just because of traffic is not huge. But at the same time, it does work, but it only works if we can test it. All right, speaking of testing, if you're looking for ideas, what we suggest is, just like in grade school, right? You should always go aim for the smart one. And if you have a choice, aim for the smart one that's also got some funds behind them. If you're looking for ideas on how to build some of these pages, whether they be search engine optimized only, or whether they be landing page, pay-per-click optimized. Look at the people who, Salesforce, what did I say? I was looking, I went searching for marketing, and there are 642 open positions, open marketing positions inside of Salesforce. For most of our companies aren't even that big, right? So it's no guarantee that the people that you're borrowing from actually know what the heck they're doing. There's a lot of news out there where people are like, oh, gotcha, Google, you do terrible SEO on your own projects. The only thing we're always missing is we have no idea whether or not it really works, right? We don't have the internal, like, this is what the strategy is and this is what we were doing. So it's a shortcut. Go peek at the people who spend the most in your marketplace and see what it is that they're doing. It's not perfect. Just because it works for them does not mean that it will work for you. They have a lot of other things going on, but at the same time, it's usually helpful. It's helpful for generating ideas. It's getting past writer's block, getting past landing page block is an easy way to make that happen. So those are them, the 6 steps. And like I said, look at me, I'm 4 minutes ahead of schedule right here. 6 steps, choose, but choose wisely. There's different types of landing pages. They don't all do the exact same thing. SEO and PPC are kind of separate units, or there's that hybrid that's kind of trying to do both in between. We spend a lot of time on the hybrid. There's 3 parts when you're trying to do SEO pages that you need to think about: content, your technology, making sure that it's been coded correctly, and the links that are pointing to the site. We default to content and tech for long tail terms just because it's easy to do. And then usually with internal linking and some other linking, we can, long tail terms don't usually need as many links to get going. If you're doing pay-per-click, the pay-per-click pages make sure it just loads fast. That's the only hint that I have for you there. I gave you a little bit on how we build them, kind of our internal outline, but the big thing is that the page needs to pop up as soon as the ad is clicked. Upcycle your old stuff. If you have content, which you probably do, old content that doesn't seem to be doing any work, upcycle it. We can make it a little bit better. And sometimes for your writers, it's a lot easier than coming up with new stuff. It's a new take on the old stuff, or trying to find something relevant inside there. To the question of should we be doing video or email collectors or exit prompts? Yeah, absolutely. Try them all. It's testing. You need to test it, but make sure you have your A treatment before you introduce a B treatment, and make sure that it's statistically significant. And then if you're trying to come up with ideas, do what we do. We go look for the smart rich kid. Borrow liberally, but just know that it's no guarantee that it's going to work. And by doing those 6 things, by doing those, you're actually doing what we do. And we've been pretty effective in making landing pages work for us. This is what you get by attending our webinar. So if you've never been to a webinar from us before, when we send you the recording, which comes out in a couple days, it will include a link to The Human Being's Guide to Business Growth. It's a book that will give you ideas about growth, and it applies to multiple industries. The Perfect Growth Formula is a booklet that Bill and I did, and it's all about internal conversations really between sales, any of the revenue producing departments. It's a way for everybody to communicate together. And then Lead Gen Compass is this company that we're introducing. We've been doing work like building landing pages for companies for quite a while, and we've broken it off. And so now it's a for the companies that it makes sense for, it's a way to outsource some marketing function, but not just any marketing function. It's we have a particular way. It's outsourcing our way of doing things inside of your company. To reach us, US Farm Data, usfarmdata.com, where you've seen a lot of these things in place. And if you dig around the site, you will start to find, you're like, oh, I see where that must be a hybrid landing page, or that must be a pay-per-click landing page. You'll bump into all of the different landing pages on usfarmdata.com, as well as leadgencompass.com. So that's a new site. And what we'll start doing is we'll start sharing with you some of the things that we do on Lead Gen Compass and how they work. Because sometimes when a company's been around for a long time, relaunching it on a new site puts everything to test, right? Call us, send emails. We're happy to talk to you. I don't see any questions. All right. And I did it, 11:45, 30 minutes. So have a great Thursday. Have a great Friday. Hopefully you recovered from Halloween. I think we did 300 pieces of candy, but I think it was only 100 kids. If you have any questions, give us a call. Thanks for attending, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.